My name is Sel Shah. I'm a computer science teacher. I also train teachers, obviously not on using this kind of technology. And I also am doing a PhD. And I'm going to talk about my experience of engaging girls and more particularly children with ASD using microbits. So in 2015, when the microbits first came out, I applied for some free microbits online and decided to explore using microbits in the classroom with girls for a master's study on teaching and learning. So I introduced the microbit to year 7 students, that's like grade 7. And the idea was to introduce programming concepts with each lesson, as well as giving the students hand-on experience learning programming. But we wanted to encourage the girls to think about what they're doing, which is why we used the computational thinking ideas. So the students engaged with a lot of enthusiasm, and they particularly enjoyed the sort of microbit games. Some of you will recognize these old friends, sort of pass the parcel, rock, paper, scissors, and the magic 8-ball. And we had some lovely feedback from the students. Sort of once you get it right, it's fun asking questions. I like solving how to do it and going through these steps. And what's really wonderful is a lot of these students went on to do the GCSE, and this is at a time when a lot of girls weren't doing the GCSE. So after this, I actually moved on to working in a school specializing in ASD. And I can't underestimate the impact that the BBC microbit had on the pupils and the program at the School for Computer Science. I came from mainstream education and I was completely out of my depth with this sort of challenging environment that I was being presented with in the classroom. And I have to humbly admit that in order to gain the interest of the pupils and keep them in the classroom, maintain their behavior and motivate them, I actually just got out my computer science bag of tricks. And I basically called upon every trick and strategy I could recall from my teaching experience. So the microbits really helped with this. We gave a microbit device to each of the 6 Key Stage 3 pupils for use in lessons. Of the 6 pupils, 1 pupil didn't attend school, 1 would refuse to engage with computers or coding, but the rest were mostly fully engaged, and they learned to code using both the block editor and the touch develop interface, which is no longer available at this point. The projects that went really well always involved some form of practical element, usually games. But one of the big advantages of the drag and drop nature of the text-based touch develop, it meant that pupils didn't have to be able to spell, or they didn't have to remember command syntax to this extent that they would need to with sort of Python programming language. So it worked really well. For the pupil that didn't engage with computers or coding, he happened to be very practical. So when we bought some protective cases for the microbit, he built everyone's case for them in the class sort of thing. And after purchasing the cases, I thought, right, I'm going to get some additional kits. So we bought some additional accessories from something called the Inventor's Kit, and it had sort of LEDs, motors, LDRs, and capacitors. And we also bought the line following buggy. And so by introducing building circuits with the microbits, that Key Stage 3 pupil who had been disengaged now attended every lesson, and he became fully engaged in building circuits using microbits and other computing devices, and of course writing the code that went with the projects as well. There was another factor that brought about a significant change in my teaching that summer, and the BBC released a video microbit lesson. It was called Hack the Bedroom. And I showed this to my primary class. They were Key Stage 2 lower class, so that's about grade 3, 4. And they were completely inspired, and they actually begged me to be allowed to make some of the devices. So rather than just get them to replicate the projects and follow instructions on the website, I actually designed a short scheme of work on the electronics and got them to do that, which they loved. But even when they stopped loving it, I just sort of said, right, think about the microbit projects, and they would be motivated to do that. So we had to teach them soldering and get them involved in sort of painting, and not to the extent of Eduardo. And basically, we finally produced some really beautiful projects. And this is lower Key Stage 3. So this is year 3 and 4. These are the paintings that they made. You can see the flashing lights on the lion's face. And one of the pupils actually got to make a piano, which actually worked using sort of conductive paint as well. So the pupils, it was just wonderful to see them becoming empowered in these lessons. Reflecting back, I think the wonderful thing about using the microbit projects to support students learning about coding was that the students are going to always remember that experience, and I will as well. And they experience lessons that they'll never forget. And it's a really humbling feeling when you get that sort of sensation that students are going to remember you and remember what you taught them, and to have that sort of impact on their students. So I actually work teaching teachers now on using physical computing in the UK for the National Centre of Computing Education. So we offer free training on microbits and other physical computing. And then I'm also carrying on with the PhD for ASD in computer science. Thank you very much.
That's awesome.